see, it helps us actually being like audio engineers because we're like, oh yeah, that's that one thing that
actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But what is up, everybody? Welcome to episode trace of the You Gotta Get Up podcast. It's your boy Drake Plants, your co-host, along with
Elliot Jennings. You know what it is.
We back. We're cooking.
We are.
And so, as you heard from the last episode, that was a little more of our serious conversations, which will probably happen again more. But this one's going to be actually more, just, casual kind of talking about normal things. Nothing political, nothing logistical, but just for fun stuff.
Nerding.
And
it's an audiophile episode.
that's still crazy to me. Like, I don't understand. I don't know. Just the word file seems pretty tough.
I know, because like that, the what is that? It's not a surname, but like that ending of a word.
The suffix?
The suffix. Thank you.
Wow,
God,
look at me go.
Look at you go with
That was
these
a pretty good one. I know.
I need you for that. Like, my brain goes blank sometimes. But yeah, that suffix, it's just it has bad connotations attached to it, obviously.
Like,
so
I don't know. When someone says like file, or something like blank file, I'm like, that seems pretty. Seems pretty sketchy.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Because people it's like, I don't understand what you mean.
No. So like, if you look it up, it literally, audiophile literally is just someone who's like here's what it means. It's lover of audios. That's why that connotation is so bad.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm saying? It's so bad. It means lover of. That's what that suffix means. So
I don't know. That's pretty crazy to think about. It's like, because if we're all thinking the same word,
of course we are. Yeah,
if we're all thinking the same word, that means like lover of that. That's
it's bad.
That's pretty intense.
That's why it's bad. It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
Any whoosies. I know you guys have just been loving the quality of the recording. Yeah. For our episodes, it's really clear, very crisp.
Yeah.
Super
warm, you might say.
Yes, and this is not sponsored. I hope down the road that we do get sponsored by them. But shout out Warm Audio.
Warm Audio makes the best microphones.
Oh my gosh.
It's really crazy.
It's crazy.
Like, we're not getting paid for this right now. I'm telling you that.
We personally spent our own money on these microphones.
Yeah.
We've had these microphones for a while.
Identical. Listen, they're so good. We both bought these before we even knew each other.
Yeah.
And before we knew we did music. And that's one of the things actually that brought us together too when we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm a I love microphones. Like, that's one of my favorite parts about engineering. And I was just talking to him. I'm like, yeah, dude, I use like the 87R2 from Warm Audio. He's like, I have that microphone. I'm like, dude, no way. Like, yeah, it's like it's just such a good all around microphone. I mean, you can do anything on it. You can mic like pianos or guitars or vocals specifically, and any kind of vocals, whether it's singing, whether it's rapping. I mean, the 87 is typically like, it's like the most sought after microphone anyway. Like,
very prestigious, very very well known microphone. But just Warm Audio just does a really great job with all their products, and me and Elliot talk about, it's like, man, like, I really love like how they're like going into like, making the CL1B version, or they're also making like their own Pultecs and stuff.
They're
like
making EQs and preamps and microphones and compressors, channel strips. It's like, literally the only thing they don't have is an entire console, and honestly, I'm pretty sure they have the components to make it.
Oh yeah.
But it has something to do with like patents and all that nonsense, so they can't technically make them. But it's like, dude, I always say that if I had to choose one brand to make an entire studio out of, it would be Warm Audio.
I'd agree.
Easily, because they have everything.
We're huge fans of them. Again, like, this is not sponsored, but you know who is sponsoring this episode? The You Gotta Get Up podcast.
Yes, this is
the greatest podcast in the world of music, entertainment, and conversations right here, right now. Yeah. So, but this episode, we're just going to be talking about basically like, preferences based upon things that we just enjoy inside the world of music. Also like, recording, and just conversations about that. So this is all for like you, like music nerds like us who just enjoy getting down to the nitty gritty conversations. So
we gathered a few questions. We asked for some questions from some people. We only got a few answers. I gathered a few from someone who absolutely doesn't even really do music at all, but she has some really interesting questions. Her name is Aubrey, and she was like, hey, it would be cool to like find out what kind of, you know, well, we'll get into these things, but like the first thing she said was like DAWs. Like, well, you know, people might be like people who were interested in getting into music production who might not know exactly where to start, what to kind of tell them like what is a good way to like kind of get your foot in the door with that.
So also for those who don't know, a DAW, DAW stands for Digital Audio Workspace.
Workstation.
Wow. See, I'm messed up. That's crazy. I embarrassed myself.
It's okay.
Anyways, I use them. I just apparently don't know the names for them. But my starting format for DAWs all started, I think a lot of people's first version, my age, is GarageBand.
Yeah, same.
So it comes free on your computer. It comes free on like your iPhone.
If you have a
iPad.
MacBook, Apple products. GarageBand is an Apple product.
So it's, again, it gets a job done, but like when you're getting started out, I guess it's good for things like that to have, so you can just get your ideas down. But I then transferred over for like a week and a half into Cubase.
Oh, really? I was not expecting that.
Yeah, because my parents got me for Christmas like a recording setup, whatever, from Guitar Center.
Yeah.
And they have like one of these things, like, and I guess he had a partnership with like Sterling, which makes Cubase.
Yeah, somebody at Guitar Center talked them into that.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I don't like Cubase, personally. But
like, this is a really good DAW.
Yeah, it was not the best. But so that was that. But then now I am fully dedicated to Logic. Yeah. I love Logic Pro. I love it. I know a lot of buddies who now work in Pro Tools, and everybody's like, oh, Pro Tools is the premium standard and recording industry standard. I'm like, well, dude, like literally, like Billie Eilish, like her brother Phineas recorded her whole entire album inside of Logic Pro. Also, if you look at like rap music, 99% of the stuff that's like made for beats is like always made in Fruity Loops.
Yeah, it's literally FL Studio, and then all they do is take the beats, and a lot of them put it into Logic. Some of them put it into Pro Tools. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get the whole thing about Pro Tools. They say it's the standard because like you can find it in every single pro studio, like any major studio anyway. But I just don't find it as like user friendly for independent artists. Like, you know what I mean?
And also, if you worked in GarageBand, Logic Pro is like, it's basically its older brother. So if you know how to get around GarageBand, you could probably easily find your way around Logic Pro pretty well.
It's almost the exact same thing, except it's got advanced parameters for the plugins. But, so essentially you do the same things. Yeah. It's got the same key cuts to it. And like literally they do whole classes like in recording engineering programs on Pro Tools. They do whole classes because like to learn all their key cuts and everything, to learn how everything works. Like, it's really cool. But one thing Pro Tools doesn't really do very well is production. Like, like it's great for live recording. So if you're going to just record vocals and or mixing,
like live band vocals, mixing, like drums, bass, guitars, stuff like that. It's really good for that.
It's really good, but like
but that's what you do in studios anyways. You go out there and do that.
But you can do those same things in Logic. Like, and there's no difference in, people will be like, oh, well, things sound better in Pro Tools. No, they don't. Likely whoever was just doing your recording in Pro Tools just knew what they were doing, and so they knew how to mic you better, or they knew how to get the levels better, and they knew how to mix better. That has nothing to do with the actual sound quality.
Yeah, anybody who thinks that there's like a sound quality difference inside different DAWs,
no,
they're probably smoking the most purest form of meth in the world.
Yeah, no, it's hard rocks because like honestly, and you know, we're dunking on Cubase, but it's like, you know, and that's not the only. What's the other one? Reaper. All of the Universal Audio has one.
Yeah,
Luna.
And
all of them are fun.
Listen, I'll be talking about this later.
Yeah.
But Luna is not the one. But
yeah,
I have thought about buying Ableton because they have a lot of production. And I'm a huge production. I love producing, and they have a lot of features inside Ableton. That I just really love. I just really love it. But like, the interface in GarageBand and Logic look almost 99% identical to each other. There's just a few more bells and whistles on it, but other than that, DAW for me is going to be Logic Pro every single day of the week. So
yeah, I just that's our opinion. Like it's just our comfortability level. Again, we both started in GarageBand, so it's like
you started GarageBand too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So like, I literally GarageBand was the first thing I recorded on that super old Mac. It was like a 07, and this was back in like 2012, 2011. So it was like an 07 that my dad had bought from like a friend of his. Yeah, and like I was recording on a super old GarageBand, and I didn't even have a mic on it. I was just recording through that back microphone on it. But then I transferred from there up to Logic because it was like, okay, I'm learning about all of these plugins and
also,
what they do.
Real quick, Logic is like $200 one-time fee, but on Pro Tools, you have to pay monthly on it.
I'm not going for that. I'm not going for a yearly subscription to a service. That's nuts,
yeah,
bro.
And it's also you're paying like...
And it's like $600 up front for Pro Tools.
Yeah,
like, it's $600 up front plus like yearly. That's if you buy the full thing. They have a free version, but then you don't even get to do all the full things that like it does. So it's like I would rather do like you said, pay the $200 one time.
And you have everything that you need.
Yeah,
there,
seriously. Yeah. And you have legacy versions. So if you have like an older version of like of a computer, if you have an older Mac, you can run legacy versions and you don't need a dongle. You don't have to, like, they have that dongle thing where you have to have something plugged in the whole time. That makes no sense. I like everything native, which is another reason why we'll get into that later with plugins, but, like, I'm not a fan of dongles. I'm not a fan of, like, hard things that you have to have. Pause. God. Yo, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
Go?
Huh?
Check mine.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Oh, Lord.
No, that was crazy of me. I shouldn't say that.
That was outrageous.
But like, I'm not a fan of having
an external,
you know what I'm saying, dongles. That sounds crazy anyway by itself.
That dongle word is crazy.
Dongle is nuts. So who came up with that?
They all sat there in a board meeting and sat there and said, what should we call this thing?
They were like, you know what?
Have you ever heard the word dongle? No. I really like the word dongle.
Nah, y'all were freaks, bro.
No,
that's
honestly,
what that was.
yeah.
Y'all were freaks.
Get out of here.
But no, seriously, I'm not a fan of that.
These people attend the Diddy parties.
No. I like having everything native because it's in one place. I get to put it on a hard drive, and I don't have to worry about it after that. But yeah, no, and it's really intuitive when it comes to learning things. You know what I'm saying? So like with GarageBand, I had never been I had been in studios before, like growing up, like with my dad, but I was never the one really recording.
Yeah.
So when I got to GarageBand, it was like, okay, I see these things called plugins, right? At that time, I didn't even realize that DAWs were just digital versions of consoles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't even realize that you can literally take...
It was a digital version of an analog.
Yeah, of an analog console. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That it's like, okay, well, like you have compressors. Okay, I'm like, okay, so I'm just doing stuff to these waveforms. That's all I thought. So it's really cool to learn kind of what these tools do to your music and to your sound waves, and then later on you can apply that to analog gear. So I kind of worked backwards, where most engineers learn about analog gear and then they learn about how plugins equate to those.
Yeah, I didn't really know anything about like what the word analog even meant.
Yeah,
I didn't know what that word even meant. Like,
no, me neither.
So I was like, what does that mean? But then obviously seeing it's like analog is like, you know, hardware and actually like, you know, like physical touching, whatever, compared to like actual like digital. But you know what you can't do in analog is that you can't have plugins involved in analog stuff. Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing. And people, you know, like record analog, you know, and sometimes like they record through these big old boards, like, you know what I'm saying, the SSO boards and stuff like that, and they record into it, but they have no like effects like how you can do digitally. Yeah, and it's weird. But there's I guess there's pros and cons. Like the digital one, you know, is very, you know, clean. It's very, you know, like direct as to where analog has a natural warmth, a natural texture.
It's gonna impart character on your. It's gonna like electrical, like literally the analog is just like the actual electricity, physical electricity of going through everything. Because everything that like what we're putting through these microphones, like our vocals, they're literally being picked up and converted as electricity through these wires and put into the interface.
Which is crazy to think about. Like, this is all that we're talking to is just electricity.
It's electricity, yeah. And then it's being transferred into like the digital realm.
Yeah.
And then we can edit it there later.
But
now, what you were saying, how you can't have plugins involved with analog, you can run hybrid, but you have to have like this absurd setup to where you're running things in something like we'd have to run this. It's typically like one then the other, and not one then the other then back then again, because then you're running like an absurd amount of like inputs and outputs.
Yeah.
But you can always run like hardwire. Like if we wanted to run hardwire like preamps into this interface, we could do that.
Yeah.
We could run the sound that's getting changed over into the workstation. We could put like a 1073 on the backside of this microphone, and then run that into the interface, run the out from that.
So you're basically just converting, you're basically doing analog to digital.
Yeah.
Instead of like, but you can't really, well, you can.
But I see what you mean. Yeah, you can't really go back and forth. Yeah. Whereas like in the digital realm, it doesn't really matter because it's all technically digital. Yeah. And you can still kind of, especially depending on the plugins that you use, you can kind of impart that same kind of feel onto the waves that you're looking for in the analog realm anyway. Like one of our favorites, I know like that we both use our 1176s and 2A compressors.
That's what I'm actually using right now for our vocals to be compressed in this podcast is 1176 Blueface.
Right, and that's probably the UA version, right?
Yep, UAD.
Blueface is pretty cool. I like those.
I got them all though.
Yeah, he's like, I got them all.
I got them all. I got even the legacy version.
Yeah. No, dude, if you go through his when we first met, I remember there was like it was like a 2-month period where like every day he's like, I got a new plugin. he's like, yo, I just did a new demo. I'm like, oh word. He's like, you know what I'm gonna buy with that money? I'm like, what? He's like, new plugins.
New plugins. Yeah, I was a fiend for. I was like almost like an addict for like plugins for a minute. Like,
he's an audiophile.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. File is still a crazy word. We need to change that.
No, it's I'm gonna go with it. That's the English language for you. It's the English.
That's crazy.
He's like, I don't want to be.
I don't want to be an audiophile. I don't want to be a lover of audio.
I don't love it like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. But. So the idea of if you're still confused on what a plugin is, a plugin is basically like a third-party extension, or like even like an extension of a certain sound or a certain product that you're looking for inside production. So for example, if you Logic and a lot of, I guess almost every single DAW, except unless you're like freaking what's the freaking lame one that we tried using that one time to help with audio.
It's so. Was it Audacity?
Audacity.
Funny story about Audacity. When I was in Korea, that was the first thing I ever tried recording on.
Audacity?
Yes, because
and you had the audacity to do that.
I had a webcam. I didn't know what worked. I didn't know what DAWs were, but Audacity's always been free.
Wow.
So like, I had a webcam. Right, it was the first time I ever had because this was back in like 2009. This was 2009,
You're
and I had
old.
Hey, shut up, okay? I was in high school. I'm like a few years older than you.
I didn't get to high school until I was in 2012.
No, that's not true.
I was a freshman in 2012.
I graduated. Oh my god, I graduated. Okay, so that makes sense though. It was 4 years. That's not that bad.
Interesting.
But I had this webcam, and the microphone on it was awful because it was only made for like talking back and forth on like web calls and stuff like that, not like recording. So like I tried recording with this microphone, and like I looked at like it sounded awful, and I remember being like, this thing sucks. I deleted Audacity immediately, and I never touched another like workstation until GarageBand.
Well, like I don't think Audacity has like stock plugins, but like I think
does.
Almost it does. It has stock plugins.
Yeah, bro.
It has stock.
Yeah, bro.
What do you mean it has stock plugins?
It has stock plugins.
No, it doesn't.
Bro,
like compressors, EQs?
Yeah, basically.
No.
Yeah, basically. They're boring. Don't get me wrong. They're boring. Like, you seen that interface that it has? It's like gray. It looks like you're in prison, kind of. It's like, it looks like you're in jail. You're in audio jail when you use Audacity. But it has tools. EQ, leveling, freaking it's a workstation, bro. It has it,
wow.
but it's just parameters, so it's like a bar, kind of like how GarageBand has it.
I hate that.
It's like a thing how it's like a little button, and you have to drag it back and forth for ratio and for like how and attack.
Dude,
and release.
I feel like honestly like cringing.
So like it makes no sense, because if you have no idea what these things do, you're just looking at words and knobs, and there's no way that you would even like figure out how to use them. So essentially you would have to have some kind of training.
It's all by ear.
And then
it's an ear thing instead of a visual thing.
But at that point, if you're good enough, you're gonna use a real freaking DAW.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know the last time someone ever had a number one song go platinum from from using Audacity.
No, it's never happened.
But,
guarantee it.
So
if
I didn't know
someone
that.
has,
but
I would love to. We should make that a goal. We should make a song.
Absolutely not.
We could make a song in Audacity.
I'd cringe.
I'd
cry.
All live instruments, like inputted. And then we just use like that bare prison style those tools, stock plugins on there, because it's not plugins, it's just like parameters, kind of like well, I mean it's like technically plugins, but I was gonna say plugins, to make them make sense, think of like all of your audio kind of like a train, right? And each thing it's a channel, like your channel it's a strip, and think of that as a train, and each little car is room for a plugin, or
I would say a
saying?
plugin's like an effect. So like you would have compressors, EQs,
but as far as the
limiters,
chain goes,
limiters, we're using a gate on ours right now for vocals.
Yeah.
But there's also stuff like that, like tremolo and and like flanger and
but
chorus.
it goes in order. So like if you have a chain.
Oh, you're just talking about the chain in general.
Yeah, I'm talking about the chain. So like it goes in order, like if you have an EQ first, then a compressor, then like
I would
another
disagree.
compressor.
I think you should put compressor first and EQ.
Because
you're shaping the compression, because every compressor has a sound, but then you're shaping the sound of the compressor along with it.
Some of them are transparent. Not everyone has a sound.
Yeah, well, 1176s have a sound.
Okay, 1176s do have a sound.
So that's why I put a compressor first.
Okay, well that's
put
fine,
EQ
but
after.
Everyone doesn't use an 1176, Drake.
Well, get your money up.
Yeah, figure it out. I don't know what you want me to do. You need faster attack, honestly.
Get your money up.
You know what I'm saying?
If you're broke, just say so.
But it's a chain. So like your whole strip is a chain of effects. So like if you say you put, again, like if you put your compressor first, you're gonna impart some a little bit of character on there. Then you're gonna EQ that with some character, and then you're gonna add maybe another EQ or a different compressor, and a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, it goes in order of the effects that you're using, essentially.
But I think you're talking about a vocal chain compared to like where you can put
any kind of chain.
Well, I would say you
it's just electricity.
Why would
doesn't matter what kind. Doesn't matter.
It's electric.
It's electric.
So I was thinking like
it doesn't matter what it is. Whatever that.
I would say that like sometimes on production, sometimes I just put like distortion on things. Sometimes I just put like compression on things.
It's still part of the chain.
But there is
just
nothing,
a shorter chain.
But there's just, I mean, I guess, but like
it's just a shorter chain.
I mean, I feel like I'm being targeted right now.
What?
So, but anyways, plugins.
You're a victim.
I am. So what? Ooh. So there's there's a lot of plugin companies around the world that do a lot of different things, and I have a few favorites for different things.
Sure.
But what would you say are your top 3 plugins that you're using, or your favorite just in general?
Plugins or plugin companies? That's a tough one. Because
right now, how about first we do the companies and then the plugins?
Okay. Overall, I like Waves the most. And I like it because of its user friendliness and the fact that it kind of makes things a little bit welcome to people who don't necessarily know what each thing does or how each thing can be imparted. And I think it, like the user interfaces that it has, it makes it a lot of fun for people who kind of want to get involved in it but don't necessarily have like pro training on these things or don't have that much experience, but you can learn what each thing does in that way, almost like a kid being able to just go into like this little toy area and just play with stuff, and then you see how it works.
It has a longevity feel, and again, like it looks easy for people to use that they've probably never used before. They can understand it, but also even professionals still use Wave stuff nowadays.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Like they still it's still professional quality. Like the things that like professionals can still go in knowing what these tools do, and they can use those to their advantage because it's still user friendly.
And they're also affordable.
They're really affordable.
Like like they have sales all the time. You can get they say like have sales. It's like buy two, like spend $50 get 2 plugins free, or buy 2 get 2 free.
No, seriously, and then you end up paying $15 per plugin.
Yeah,
and it's like again, they also have packages that make it kind of easy to get started that don't
they
cost
have like the diamond, the gold, the
ones.
silver package.
Yeah, I think what's my favorite one? It's the mixing and mastering one. It's it's usually going for like about $300. It's not silver. It might be. Is it diamond? Is diamond the one that's all gold?
I think there's silver, gold, platinum, diamond.
Silver, gold, platinum, diamond. Yeah. Anyway, they have a lot. They have a lot of pretty much everything that you would need. Like gold is gonna just get you started. It's gonna get you. It's gonna get you started for everything that you would possibly need just to record like any kind of music.
Yeah.
It comes with all kind of amps and then it gets you started into the analog sphere. It doesn't really get you all the way into it, but my favorite thing about Wave's plugins are their analog emulations, because they have a lot of stuff from like SSL, and they have a lot of stuff from they have their artist versions, which are like kind of like clones on actual hardware. Like Chris Lord Algae has his own like pack of analog stuff. Andrew Sheps has one. JJP, that's Joseph Jack
Abbey Road, stuff like that. The Kramer tapes.
The Kramer stuff. The Kramer pack is crazy, bro. The tape saturation is, it's like so beautiful. I'm a fan of really warm sounding production, whereas like
Which is interesting, I'm not.
Drake loves super like hi-fi, like
bright.
really bright, high end. I won't say heavy, but high end, more oriented sounds. Whereas like mine is like more.
I like really heavy like basses.
Yeah.
Like really like knocking 808 basses, whatever. But like I really like the crisp high end music.
Yeah, I'm a fan of like more classic sounding stuff. So like not classical music, but like classic contemporary, so like back in like the 60s. Like those are the kind of things that I really like, and that's kind of how I got into like different miking stuff, because I really like more classic feeling stuff. And warm, again, I hate to use the word warm gets used a lot in music and kind of gets like blurred the lines between like everything, but I just like that kind of like that vinyl feel.
But that's something that comes from the analog kind of like impression, because like we're talking about, the digital is very bright, it's very clean, as to where like the analog is very warm. There's saturation, there's texture and like involved with it. So what's crazy though is that people actually buy plugins to make their stuff warm.
Yeah, exactly.
To make it have like the analog feel, because it's more practical to have a laptop to do digital than to just kind of recreate it analog. But it's also you can't really make it sound fully analog. It's like you can't make full analog sound digital.
Well, and also like real analog gear that a lot of these things are based off of, they don't make a lot of stuff anymore. So like
it's also very expensive for the vintage ones.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like like people don't typically have, like someone starting out, like I can't afford, you know what I'm saying, just to throw away $3,500 plus like another $4,000 on just 2 compressors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to buy an LA2 Air 1176.
Yeah, and put both of them. Bro, that's
practical.
Yeah, it's not as practical. Some people do have it. Like I know people who have those in their studio. But
tell them your other 2 plugin companies. And
wait, okay, cool.
But then
so Waves, I like Lindell.
Wow, that was a huge throw off.
Yeah,
for
Lindell Audio. I'll tell you why I like them. I like their channel strips. I use their Neve channel strip pretty much on every project that I do.
Wow.
And we're talking about plugin companies, right?
Plugin companies, yeah.
and I would say I like Native Instruments, but I wouldn't put them in my top. I would say if I had to choose a third, this is gonna be a cheat because it's like a bunch of them, but Plugin Alliance.
Wow.
They work with. It's a cheat because like they've partnered with like a bunch of different plugin companies, and they include like a lot of things, and I like them because
even some Lindell stuff.
They have some Lindell stuff. They have SSL stuff. They have a bunch of things. They have Focus. I have a Focusrite console plugin, which there's only 10 consoles ever made. So like there was no way that I could get get my hands on an actual Focusrite console. But yeah, I would say Plugin Alliance for my third.
So my top 3 is UAD. I'm a huge UAD fanboy. Yeah, I love UAD stuff.
He's got them all.
I have not all of them. I'm trying to.
He's like,
but I love UAD stuff. But again, like the 1176 and 11.2 LA2A, these compressors, brand new, are like $3,500.
Yeah.
But I literally got the same exact compressor for like on sale for around Christmas time for like $40.
Yeah.
And people and like it's Universal Audio making both products.
Yeah.
And obviously they're putting their stamp of approval saying this is as close as possible we can get to the hardware and vice versa. We can make them sound as similar. And people I know that like work professionally and, like actually like have like songs on the radio and songs that have, radio play and streaming services have been playlisted. They use the freaking plugins. Yeah. It's just the same thing. So Universal Audio is one. Number 2, I would say, is Sound Toys.
Ooh,
Sound Toys. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
their whole entire.
Effects, crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Again, like the little, little Echo,
little Altar Boy,
little Altar Boy. Absolute, Decapitator.
That's a good smasher.
It's just, oh my gosh, it's just like honestly, like they do everything really, really well, and they have an effect rack. Which is really well, so they can basically combine all their plugins into like one rack, and you can actually put them all together in its own chain inside the effect rack, which is super dope. But lastly, I'm kind of conflicted. I would say like because I also like production companies or companies that also make virtual instruments as well. And I'm a really big fan of again UAD does a really good job, but also I'm a really big fan of Softtube.
Ooh.
So Softtube, they're also the ones who make the CLB. They make the CLB compressor.
They make a version of that.
Yeah, they make the CLB compressor, which Universal Audio sells on their website, but Softtube makes it originally.
Yeah.
The plug-in version of that compressor. But if it wasn't for them, specifically for like because I have like the Prophet emulation, I have the Juno Invitation, and all that stuff. But if I would sit there and say like another one other than that, I would probably go with the Waves. Waves are probably 3. Because again, just the versatility that they have.
Yeah,
I love the affordableness of them.
I'm a big versatility guy. I think like the most that you can get out of things is I like efficiency.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's part of the reason why I really like Warm Audio too. Like as a hardware company, you know what I mean. Because if we're talking about like hardware companies, it's like there's a bunch of like hardware companies that make specialty things. Like Neumann makes like microphones. They're like the top of the top when it comes to microphones as a whole. But Telefunken makes microphones as well. They're direct competitors, right? Neumann's gonna wash them in the whole thing.
Yeah.
But Telefunken makes a 251 that Neumann is not really touching with any of their other mics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because they have their own vibe. But again, nobody's touching, the Sony Sony C800.
Yeah,
no one's touching that one because
but that's like what other micro? Well, I guess they have some other microphones, but like specializing. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But it's like when you look at like Warm Audio, they're basically touching their feet in every single one of these people's waters, and
they're doing it well.
They're doing it well. They're doing it really good.
It's not even like a little bit. Like they're coming in, they're walking in their trap and taking over their trap. Like I mean, we're talking about like almost like A to A comparisons. Like
I know people that say their stuff's better than other people's,
and because it's like, well, you're talking about like trying to get after a certain sound, right? This thing, the frequency response to like a microphone or a compressor or an EQ or a channel strip as a whole. You're talking about things that like people haven't really been able to do.
Yeah.
Like Jesus, it would be crazy if they came out with like a Fairchild.
Oh wow!
If they came out with a Fairchild, I might melt. Okay, I might melt because this is crazy at this point. That's literally the only things they haven't done. They've got like
they got the Pultec. They just
came out with a 44, bro. They came out with a
44. Wow.
That the ribbon microphone.
Yeah. The Royer 44. What's a
the
Royer
RC,
44?
The RCA is it?
Is it Royer? Oh no, it is
the RCA.
The RCA the RCA.
They came out with the RCA for. It's a ribbon microphone. They don't make those anymore. What was I thinking?
The Royer what? 212?
Royer makes a 121.
Oh, I thought it was Royer.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they did that though.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either.
We're talking about like classic things that you really can't get anymore. Like the only way to get them was to buy the originals vintage for like sometimes as like high as like $15,000.
Yeah.
And you're getting them for like $1,000.
Yeah.
And they're sounding almost identical to these same microphones.
Because what I think they do is I think they just buy the regular ones, and I think because obviously they do it, they just sit there and like tear it all apart. It's like, oh, this is the transducer they're ususing, or this is the the electrical unit they're using. Oh, this is the whatever they're using, and they could just basically replicate that and just make their own product.
Make their own.
But
because the patents are run out at this point.
Yeah.
So and that's why they can't do certain things until like certain times because like the patents run out on these on certain things. Where they can like AEA was the only ones making the 44s for like the longest time because RCA was no longer making them for like I don't know how many years, and you could buy the AEAs, but even those were still like $3,000.
Wow,
you know what I mean? Those were expensive. So maybe you could get them for like two something. I can't remember. It's been a while since I looked, but none of them are the same cost as like an RCA, a warm audio.
Yeah.
Which is those are coming out at like I think they're coming out at like $1,200 now. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, somewhere around $1,100-$1,200, and it's like you're talking about a fraction of the cost from the originals. Because a vintage RCA was literally like $30,000. I saw one for like $30,000, and it's like you're talking about replicating that. And people don't even use ribbon. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like nerdiness. Like people don't even use these kind of microphones.
Yeah.
You wanna know who did? Leon Bridges. When he did Coming Home, they built like they had just got done building this studio of like old vintage. Like they had been collecting vintage gear, and they were able to make this little makeshift studio in this little warehouse. And that's where that classic sound comes from. It sounds like they recorded in Motown. You know what I mean? With classic like instruments and classic microphones. Microphoning is important, friends. But yeah, like these 87s, like these 87 clones that we're using right now, these are almost identical in sound. Like the R2 versions, because they had an original 87 that Warm Audio made, and then they revamped these with the R2s, and they made them closer to the frequency response, which they were already close, but these are even closer to the original 87s. And this is this is what they sounded like the people I mean really anyone you could think of, Dolly Parton or freaking Aretha Franklin recorded on these. It's like it's classic feel, classic sounding, and you can still mix them with these new plugins and this new technology to make them sound good in whatever realm, whether it's pop, whether it's jazz, literally anything, and it's gonna sound phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's only the microphones. You know what I'm saying? They have compressors and EQs and channel strips and preamps, and they have guitar amps and pedals. I don't know if they have amps. I know they have pedals though.
They have pedals, yeah.
They have pedals. And it's like it's just really cool.
They do a good job.
Yeah, it's a really great job.
Please sponsor us.
Please
sponsor us.
All we need is like your stamp and a few microphones. That's all.
That's all we need. I don't need anything else.
Yeah, maybe a couple preamps. I mean,
that's it.
You know, hey, we'll talk. We're trying to work our way to NAMM in January.
We'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you guys there, and we'll chop it up with some of your reps.
We'll see you there. But what else is here? Focusrite versus
like focus. Oh, so we were talking about this earlier, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about how Focusrite. This started because we were talking about places that we'd like to like visit in our work. You know what I mean? And one of the things we agreed on was the UK because Abbey Road is there.
Huge.
Obviously the Beatles.
Right.
And Sir George Martin partnered with Rupert Neve, who makes the 1073 that we were talking about, that Warm Audio makes one of. Rupert Neve broke off to kind of create him his own console. And they called this company Focusrite, and they partnered in it. If you're an independent artist, you know Focusrite, because chances are
where I'm actually, the interface we're recording on right now is actually a Focusrite. Yeah. It's 18920 Gen 3. But this is my new interface, but I had
the Scarlett.
Scarlett for
the 2i2, because
that's a 2i. That's a 2i8.
2i8. Okay. Is this a Scarlett? Technically, it's a Scarlett too. It's just an
18920. It's a Focusrite Scarlett 18920.
So just more channels.
It has 10 channels.
Yeah.
The other one I had was 2.
Yeah, more ins and more outs essentially.
So I think that's what the 20 means, is like how many ins and outs combined are.
Right.
So, but
So it's like they're essentially the epitome of like independent artistry and independent like solo recording, I would say.
Well, I would say one, like, they're still majorly relevant to this day, but also their biggest competitor is Universal Audio. That's their biggest competitor. Because
definitely.
That's for like necessarily for like interface reasons.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really touch, this is my opinion, I wouldn't really touch like their like other audio stuff, like their microphones. I wouldn't touch like their like headphones or anything. But I would touch Universal's audio microphones. They do a really good job. But Focusrite, I would say it's like the premier all-arounder, interface. I know a lot of people that have M audio interfaces.
Yeah.
I know people that have Behringer interfaces.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something like for the value and the quality of things combining, it's gonna be a Focusrite. It's the same way like how like the Warm Audio is just a really amazing all-arounder for microphones and like whatever they do. I would say Focusrite does the same exact job in their own field. But they're both in, like the Focusrite is what I've used since I've ever started doing my professional career inside the world of like, producing and mixing and demoing for people. So, I mean,
I think if
that sounds great. So
if you Google home recording setup, a Scarlett, it's gonna show up a package from like the first thing is gonna be a package from Focusrite. It's gonna have their mic, their headphones, and their interface, and it's probably gonna be like the 2i2.
But like that's typically what people. We were talking about people like Russ.
Yeah.
I don't know if he recorded on.
He said his was a Apogee Duet.
But see what I'm saying? So it's like. But it's like...
But those are just... Because essentially the interface is just a way to transfer...
The electricity.
You're translating your electricity and... or translating your analog to digital.
But the thing is that there's different preamps that have different coloration attached to it, though. So it's
if we're talking about that, I would like the SSL. They make an interface.
They do nowadays. I was actually going to buy one.
Yeah.
I was going
to buy one. And those are really good. You can impart their... They have their actual pre's. You can impart their console sound onto your channels.
Same thing with UAD, though. You go out there and put the new 1176 compressor on the vocals as well.
But you can't adjust it, though. So
you can't adjust it. No, it's kind of like a pre-made setting.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fortunate.
Yeah.
So
it's it's probably like a 4-to-1 and like a
very generic. Obviously, they're probably thinking using it as like a vocal kind of thing.
It's more for the character of it than
it's more
the
for
actual
color.
Yeah.
But so like I would say like again like people living here in Nashville, Tennessee, there are thousands of people like me and Elliot that work on music and that produce people's music and stuff like that. And like you don't need like a whole entire board like you used to have to go to the studio back in the day. You can just go to someone's house, and they can record a whole entire album or a song that can go number one. It's not anything crazy. I've recorded and produced songs on my Scarlett 2i8.
Yeah.
That I've had since 2019.
Yeah.
Right, and that I have songs playlisted through that interface that I made music with. So you don't need to go to a studio nowadays, like a lot of people think so, but you don't need to. You can literally just hit someone up on Instagram, and be like, "Hey, I heard your music, I heard your work, and I think it sounds great." And people are expecting it's like I'm gonna walk in here and it's gonna be like Grammys and gold plaques, but like honestly, not trying to trash on companies, but like companies here, like in Nashville, like Omni Sound.
Yeah.
If I hear someone say like I'm recording an album to Omni Sound, I'm like, you might as well just keep your money, bro, and just go to somebody else.
I mean, realistically,
because I think at that point you're just going there for clout. You're going there just to show it, so you're in a studio. But like nobody really goes with like even like who goes to a studio nowadays, dude? It's like. You're spinning for the studio space, but you're also spinning for the producer. But a lot of times,
the engineer,
the engineer, or like even producers, like when you see people like on social media, like rappers or producers, like having they're only playing the sound through the speakers. They're not touching the boards.
Their laptop is literally they bring the same laptop that they have in their bedroom. And with their interface, they bring that laptop to the studio, and then the studio they just plug in
to the system
to their system with it.
But it's all for clout. It's not anything crazy, but it's like it looks really good on social media compared to being in someone's bedroom.
The only thing that I could justify being in a studio for is for like mixing sessions, or like if you want like a treated room that you don't have at home. But I treat my own room like I build my own sound paneling. I think if you're going into the studio, if you're gonna mix a project or get a project mastered, you can hear subtleties that you might not hear at home.
For example, nowadays when it has stuff like this, it's very consumer accessible for folks to actually start getting in the realm of doing it themselves, where they can actually go out here. So they say it's like, hey, you don't need to go spend $5,000 on a song when you can actually just buy the stuff, and it can actually there's a lot of presets, a lot of stuff that people can like learn to buy, like learn and use. And I think it's also a really good learning tool. Like it's like you're learning how to mix your own music, you're learning how to master your own music, and that's a learning tool itself. Will it sound like somebody like Jack Antonoff? No, obviously not at first, but over time you can learn.
Yeah.
But again, even for somebody like me who mixes my own music and I master my own stuff, like it had to take time. But like it's something I learned myself, but I'm doing it because I learned how to do it myself because I put the energy and effort instead of actually paying somebody.
Yeah.
Because at the time, you're paying. There's a thing about paying people for time, and there's also paying people for experience. And it's like you can sit there and work with somebody who has had experience, whatever, and like it's like, oh, like I've recorded 17 albums.
Yeah.
Because I've been around since 1970. It's like okay, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and so you have what was
that's
the first
your
thing?
Experience though, but
experience,
if your time,
you have time, you have experience, but you also have clout, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Some people are like, well, I mastered like these albums for like Bruce Springsteen back in the day.
But that doesn't
you're
mean
also
you're mastering the same way you would back in the 70s, compared to like how you would nowadays, where the mastering again, you're mastering digitally, but you're mastering analog, compared to digital, which sounds different now. But when you're listening to radio, all that stuff's coming through, digitally. It's not happening through. Well, not necessarily all that, but like people have like on-hand stuff like that, but they're converting analog to digital.
I think it's really important to learn how to do these things yourself because, like, it's gonna save you money in the long run. You're not gonna. I think what people kind of get attached to in the beginning, especially when they move here to Nashville, they think, okay, like I'm an artist. I just moved here. I kind of have to get something that sounds like fantastic right away, and they go out and they spend their money. A lot of people get scammed out of their money, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of people get scammed out of their money because people who might have went to school or maybe not even, but they're like, oh, I know how to do this thing, and they'll promise you like results, and a lot of the times the writing isn't there, the recording isn't there. I don't care how good of a mixer somebody is. Like if your song isn't recorded properly, if you don't have proper distance of your mics and your levels, I mean levels can be fixed, but like things like the room that you're in, if you record it in like a bedroom, there's only so much that a pro audio engineer can do to change.
Yeah.
You're not gonna sound like someone who recorded right inside of like a multi-million-dollar studio. It's just not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that you have to have the multi-million-dollar recording studio to get quality sound.
Again, you can literally hit anybody up that's a producer in Nashville, and I guarantee you their stuff is just as, if not even better than some stuff that you hear on the radio.
Yeah,
and
literally.
I'm not lying to you. Like, I'll even put like some snippets right here of stuff that I've done, that I produced, that I've done here in my living room. And I even put some stuff in there from Elliot that's done some stuff. He actually, by the way, little quick shout out, this man dropped an EP recently.
Yeah, it's called You Deserve a Night Out.
That's right. And then we're gonna be playing a song. Did you produce Holly?
I produced Holly.
So we're gonna play Holly, and we're also gonna put on Melt.
Yeah.
Did you produce Melt?
Yeah, I did produce.
So produce Melt and Holly, and so this is all the songs that we've done together.
I recorded, mixed, and mastered all of those, and it's like you don't need to. I did those in my studio is my spare bedroom in my apartment. Okay, like it's not something that's like, oh, I have this entire basement with like all of these like super fan. I do have analog gear, but I didn't even use it on this project. So it's like you don't need like a bunch of stuff in order to do. And I think Russ talked about this, right? Yeah. Russ talked about how like that's when I heard about the Apogee Duet, and he had like a baby bottle microphone from Blue, and it's like, you know, he was just recording in his friend's basement. Bryson Tiller
literally bought that beat.
Yeah.
He bought that beat, and he worked at a pizza place.
He worked for Papa John's. I think he worked. I don't know if he worked at a location, but I think he worked for. But anyway, yeah.
But he worked for them, and then he bought a recording studio, and he just recorded all the vocals in his house.
Shot in the dark, took it, and he.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it's just one of these things, though.
Yeah, I think music, like the actual music.
Man, this happens every time. People try and call me, and it's just like it's just lame. Anywho's,
he's popular. I don't have people calling me.
I just need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb when we do these next time, because this is the second time in a row now. Anywho's, but
I think the music, the writing, like focus on your writing, because like that's gonna draw you into spaces. When people hear your writing, most people who are listening to music aren't going, "Oh my God, that mix is freaking fire, the way that compression is moving in."
We do.
We're gonna do that. We're not most people.
We're audiophiles.
Yeah, we're audiophiles, and like once you get into engineering music,
I want you guys to comment another word other than audiophiles, because I really need to find another word.
He's like, I don't feel comfortable
saying the word audiophile. That's a crazy word.
Yeah. But like I think focusing on your music, like the writing, the performance, the delivery, that's gonna be more important. I've heard bad, horrible mixes of songs that are really good, and I still love the song. You know what I mean?
I would say that literally like the best thing to do is one, honestly, just get writing. But then also like, what is the value of your song?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you believe the song can become, you know, like something of it, then don't be afraid, you know, to know exactly what you want in it. But that means I think that's where you can come into the realm of like learning how to do it yourself. Even necessarily like not fully getting it fully produced by yourself.
Yeah.
But just create the idea and try and create it and resemble it the best way you possibly can. Yeah. Then find somebody who can do that to make your vision come alive. But again, I've seen people say they spent $5,000 for one song.
The song won't go anywhere.
And the song won't go nowhere because it's trash.
You just spent $5,000 because someone told you, well, I'll produce it for you, but I produced these hit artists. What you didn't pay for was them to get it to those artists and for you to get any kind of clout off of it, which is what essentially you think you're paying for when you, like, if you go to a recording studio, you're like, I just spent $3,000 to record these 2 singles.
Yeah.
And like, whole time they're not very good. You really just paid for their recording studio time and an engineer to engineer you. But like, if your song isn't that, if your music doesn't have that kind of impact, it doesn't really matter, which is why it's important to get yourself going first, because again, you're going to save money in the long run.
Yeah.
And then you learn skills, which is more valuable than the money that you're spending. You know what I mean?
And again, it's like, people like me, it's like, yeah, I spent a lot of money on plugins throughout the years.
True.
I don't know. I think last year I probably spent about $2,000 on plugins.
He would not stop, bro.
I wouldn't stop.
I was done buying plugins by that time.
But I just love plugins. I just love like seeing the things they can do. I like seeing like how pretty they look on my computer screen.
Interfaces of these plugins are so cool. Like I really love looking at them. That's why I like Waves the most, because it's like
they are aesthetically pleasing.
Oh my god! Like if you put them up on a screen, like even if you're not mixing with them and you just put them up, you're like, oh, I'll let my son come in and I'll just put a bunch of plugins on the screen and then I'll play a loop, and then he'll be sitting there like staring at it and just watching stuff, like just looking at it, because they're colorful, they're engaging. It's like, oh, I would like to touch that button. You know what I mean? I would like to turn that knob.
I used to work at Bass Pro Shop, and shout out Johnny Morris. Actually, I met Johnny Morris. He's the CEO and owner of Bass Pro Shops.
Oh, word.
And we had the 50th year anniversary. I'm getting off topic, but 50-year anniversary.
We got to get hats out.
And I was wearing this hat when I met him. He said, I really like your hat. I'm like, it's your hat. I don't know what. It's your hat. He said, can we take a picture together? And I'm like, I guess so. So like, I'm just chilling in Johnny Morris's phone somewhere, and it's so interesting. Anywho, but I was there. But I used to have this thing where I used to talk to a lot of people that would say like, it's like, what bait do I need to use to get the best or catch fish? And I'm like, well, all these baits in this place are doing the same exact thing. Their main job is to catch fish. It's just depending on like what you want to fish with.
Yeah.
They all achieve the same goal.
Right.
They all do the same thing, but it's just about what you want to use. If you want to use a black worm, use a black worm. If you want to use, a crankbait, use a crankbait. Yeah. If you want to use live worms, do that. But they all achieve the same goal.
Right.
But a lot of the times, companies are selling the fishermen, not selling the fish. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're more attractive to the fishermen than they are the fish.
So like, this fisherman wins freaking awards, like all the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but it's the same thing with plugins, though.
Yeah.
Just because people sit there and say it's like, oh, well, I really stand by using Fab Filter Pro Q3 because all the studio professionals in the world use Pro Q3, and I love Pro Q3, but that I need to have that.
Yeah,
but
have to. Even though you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You prefer it because that's the way that you would rather do it. Like, some people would rather, and I get it. Like, some things do things that some tools have things that others don't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can still use those other tools to accomplish the same goal, which is like when you're talking about different EQs, when you're talking about different preamps, when you're talking about different compressors, it's a matter of preference, and it just depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
It depends on like okay, you're catching fish. What kind of fish do you want to catch?
There's tools for it.
Yeah, there's tools for each one. These fish react to a different type of bait better than these fish.
Are you trying to catch, like catfish? Or are you trying to catch, are you trying to catch bluegill?
Yeah, they're going to be different.
Because the stuff that you're using for catfish isn't going to catch bluegill.
Right.
Because the bait might be too big or whatever.
Right.
So you have to fit the need of what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm not going to put a pull tech on a Sabrina Carpenter pop vocal pretty much, like, well, because I'm going for a...
Would I put, severe distortion on a jazz guitar?
Yeah.
No, exactly. I'm not.
No.
It's not the way it works, but I have plugins for it when I do need to have distortion added on to something, or like a bass to make it heavier.
Yeah.
But I can do that, but it's not necessarily just because I have it, I need to use that for that certain feature or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I'm not gonna use a 2A on a really fast vocal. You know what I mean? Something that's really, really up tempo. It's gonna be for something that's more for ballads, like if we're talking vocals or
but it's like would you literally rather, it's like I think about through all this though, it's like you learn the process, you grasp an understanding of it. Will you be perfect at it first? No
you won't. It's like, it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
But that's why I think companies like at the beginning of our conversation actually have stock plugins for you to learn. They're not expecting you to come in there and be the best of all time. You're not going to become Quincy Jones overnight. You're not going to become
shout out to Quincy Jones.
But, you're not going to be these dudes at first, but you have to learn. But
and neither were they. They weren't that either when they first started.
But the whole thing is, like, what nowadays is that, like, there's a mixture of mixing / production. But I would clarify that production and producing are two different things. Because to be a producer, you're basically just sharing what your mind hears. Like Rick Rubin.
Yeah, it's the vision.
Rick Rubin's a producer.
Technically.
But he doesn't do nothing.
He doesn't do it. I watched the video of that's I know which video you're talking about. The one where he's like, I don't have any technical ability at all. I just know what I like.
And then, but there's also people that are producers.
Right.
Or that do production, like Jack Antonoff, where he plays the instruments and he actually puts it all together in his mind. Jacob Collier's production producer. But there are people that produce and there are people that are producers.
Yeah.
So,
because you can have executive producers.
You can have producer credits.
Yeah, like literally executive producers.
Just tells you what they hear.
Exactly. They're like, it should sound a little bit more like this. It's just it's ideas.
Instead of using a mandolin here, why don't you use like an acoustic guitar?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's just what they hear.
I can't play that, but you should find somebody who can.
Instead of playing a saxophone solo, we should do a trumpet solo.
Yeah, exactly.
And you should do like da 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 da, and like that. You're right there. You're getting songwriting credit, but you're also producing that part, which means you get producer and songwriting credits now, just because you inserted just a few things in there. But you could get to the part, or pretty well, over doing it throughout years, where you have confidence in yourself by, mixing and mastering your own stuff. And I think that's what a lot of people do. So people like Jacob Collier, obviously, does he produce all his stuff? Maybe, but there are people out there that, like Charlie Puth, that does his mixing because he's an absolute beast. Yeah. Same thing with like John Bellion. He's an absolute beast. Owl City. Owl
City's cold. We did a live reaction to Owl City's album, and we lost that whole reaction, and so we can't do it again. But
what's the name of that album? It's something.
It's his newest one.
Something is it something Moon Deluxe?
Coco Moon.
Coco Moon Deluxe.
Coco Moon. It was a deluxe version of that album, and we literally lost the entire thing.
Well, we have the audio for it. We don't have the screen recording of it.
Right. We don't have the screen recording. And also, we have our audio. We don't have the music audio.
But you just hear us going, oh!
Yeah, like you don't hear anything. We have our reaction, but we don't have like the actual music for it to make sense. And it would be like the most ridiculous thing to try and cut it all together and try to find the things that we were reacting to. But the fact that he does his own mixing and mastering,
he's a beast.
Dog. Fireflies is like one of the best songs of the last 100 years, okay? Yeah. And I'm not gonna argue with you about
Mozart has nothing on Owl City.
No, like if we're being real, like if
Mozart
if Owl City went back to Mozart's time and played his music, Mozart would literally pass away.
Yeah, Mozart would be like, well, he probably couldn't hear anything either. No, I was thinking of Beethoven. I lied.
Yeah.
He probably couldn't hear. He's like, what is he doing? So
he would be like, what are these riffs you're doing? What is that sound? Dog. Bro, on this new album, if he played this new album back then,
honestly, not gonna lie to you, some of the best synth work
I've never heard synth work like that before.
Absolutely insane. Crazy. What was that song?
You have to put
he has a song called Vitamin C.
Vitamin C.
He has a song called Vitamin C.
Yeah.
That goes crazy.
Every song
Sons
on
of Thunder
that album. Yeah.
Except freaking check
please
Adam check please. That song sucked. But all the other ones were phenomenal. I rated the album like an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, Adam Check Please was a goofball song, but I think he meant to do that. But the synth work on the entire
really
album,
said, Cool Whip. I'm like, he did not just put Cool Whip in a freaking
song. He said, come to aisle 4. Bro,
yeah.
I don't know what you're on, but listen, I respect it, But his, being able to, these are skills that he gained, bro. When he dropped Fireflies, he did that from his bedroom, I'm pretty sure. He's never been, he might have been in real studios, but he never needed them. He did it all at home. He dropped that. He didn't even go to school for audio. He learned it all by himself. He dropped out of community college. You know what I'm saying?
And then what else is crazy is that now the dude has songs credited with Disney.
Yeah,
that he's produced. So it's it just goes to show that you don't need somebody that sat there and say but again what's his face? We were talking about him the other day. He blew up. I forget who it was. Any of these, but it just goes to show that you don't need people that have severe experience to actually become super successful in the world of music. Yep. And again, also Sabrina Carpenter's producer literally went on Splice. If you don't know what that is, it's an online catalog of just samples that are free, royalty free, that you can just use. And he just took 2 samples together and they wrote the song, Espresso on it, and that song went platinum.
Banger.
So, but it just goes to show that literally you can do the same exact thing. It does not have to be professional.
Hip hop was literally, and here's the thing about sampling, because hip hop was a whole genre that was founded on sampling. And people hit charts with it. You know what I'm saying? Like Wu-Tang.
They're not even using. They're not even. You know what I'm saying? They're being creative in the sense that they're not.
They're hearing things in a different perspective.
Yes, and they're being creative in the sense that I hear this and I'm going to basically just do my own version on top of this instead of actually putting my own fingers to a board to make keys play or a guitar happen or playing drums.
Yeah.
I'm going to take something I hear and I'm going to combine that with another sound and combine that with another sound to make it my own product. It's the same thing with Daft Punk. Like, harder, stronger, better, faster, whatever the song.
Kanye did that. Yeah.
It's the same thing, but like
Fire.
Kanye, but Daft Punk actually sampled the two songs
to make that one?
To make that song.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And so then Kanye samples their song to make his own song.
That man got no writing. He got no credits on publishing from that. He
I need you right now. Let's get lost tonight.
No, they probably smoked him for those creds. Like,
but that's what I'm saying, though. But again, it's like, that's creativity, but you don't have to necessarily be creative in the sense where you have to play the instruments. You can actually just hear. Yeah. But I would say that's what
write a song. I use Splice, dude. I did the same thing with Holly. Mm-hmm. I found I found a sample, used that, and then I did drums on that. That one was a drum sample, a la Oliver, and then I had my dad play bass on it. My dad did the bass line for it. Super cold, like he's OG with it. He came through, did a session, did those. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to make the thing move, you know. And then the song became the song because it's everything together, and that's what a song is. All of these, like, otherwise that would be like it's like you have various musicians who come, like John Bellion does it. He's like, all right, I have this idea for a song. These are the drums for it. I need a bass line that's going to walk. So he brings in a friend of his that plays bass. Mm-hmm. The friend comes up with a bass line. Bang. Another person comes in, adds synths. Bang. Then he writes the song over it and does the vocals, and the whole thing is a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You can literally, bro, go be creative. If you don't know how to play an instrument, go get a Splice membership and get your credits up, bro. Get your credits up and then work on your writing. Because eventually, that gives you time while you're learning. It gives you time to learn how to play an instrument if that's what you want to do, or it gives you time to learn how to engineer if that's what you want to do. It gives you time to learn how to write better because it gives you more practice.
Yeah.
It gives you more opportunities to collaborate with people, and I'd argue that that's really important.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Networking. There's nothing that's what kind of the beauty of like the new age industry is, and that's why you don't really need studios. It used to be the only way to make music was to go into a studio, and the only way to get into a studio was to have a record deal.
Yeah,
you used to have, and to do that you had to be able to, your talent had to be like out of this freaking world. Like you had to be Aretha Franklin to get a freaking record deal and have them bring you in the lab, you know what I'm saying, and then get them to believe in the stuff that you were making once you were in the studio. James Brown, they almost like canceled him, like when he was in the lab. He got in there and did Please Please Please, and they were like, bro, what is this? And facts. He's like, and the one A&R is like, listen, it's not what he's saying, it's how he's saying it.
Yeah,
he might just be saying one thing. Nobody can say it like him, though.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? You have that in you, bro. You have something in you that nobody else has. Whether that's the different genres of music that you like that will all coalesce into you and then come out, or whether that's your voice, you know, that might be different, or whether that's just the way that you see or hear music. Like, everyone has something unique that they can contribute into it. Not everyone's musically inclined. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that, like, everyone's, like, yeah, I won't say meant, because like, no, who's to tell you what you're meant for, but like, if you want to do music, if you're like, hey, I really like this, there's avenues for you, and it's not 1965 anymore where you have to have a record deal and you have to go audition for someone in order to be able to do it. Yeah. That's what's cool, and I think that's really a really important part of like this pod.
Yeah, is
like the independence. Like we talk about independence, which is why like we talk about like Focusrite, because like the way that they make it accessible to create music, and Warm Audio, how they make it accessible to go get like pro level recording equipment that you can like learn how to do all of these things on.
Yeah,
you could literally build a whole studio with Warm Audio equipment.
I'm not lying to you. What I'm telling you right now, you don't have to do this, but my laptop is probably honestly the most expensive thing out of everything. But if you have like a laptop, I was working on a MacBook 2012 that I got for like $500, and then I bought the Scarlett interface for like $180.
Yeah.
And then I bought a microphone, or I already had a microphone because I was playing downtown, but that microphone's about $100. But honestly, that's just for me because I have expensive taste. I have the SM7B. I have, other microphones. I get it, but like honestly, you can just get started out by literally just getting a laptop and just getting like a solo Scarlett Red interface and like a small handheld microphone, like a Shure SM58.
Yeah.
And literally just get started by doing that.
You could learn how to do it on that. It's
literally
really
so
good.
easy. And it's not hard at all. Like again, like if you already have a laptop, GarageBand's free.
GarageBand's free. If you have Windows,
Luna's free. You can literally go on UAD and just download Luna.
You can.
So we were trashing on it earlier because obviously we know music. But like if you're trying to get started, it's right not a bad deal.
No, it's really not. And I mean, and also I think Pro Tools has like a free version of it as well. And it's literally, I think it's called the student version or something like that, where you can go and like you're there to learn. And it'll come with like minimum plugins. It's only like stock stuff and like a few extra plugins, but it gives you everything you need to like get started. So like whether you want to go like the Pro Tools route, the Universal Audio route, the Logic route, I mean $200 for Logic or free for GarageBand if you have a Mac. That's the only thing about Logic and GarageBand. You can only use them if you have Apple. But if you have like a Windows, I mean, there's Fruity Loops has a free version.
Yeah, Fruity Loops.
I would buy it though.
There's tons of free videos and tutorials online everywhere just to get started. So you don't have to like just because we use Logic doesn't necessarily mean you have to. And I know a lot of people. I know buddies who went from Logic to Pro Tools. I have friends who work in Ableton.
Yeah.
I have friends who work in that work in Cubase. And it's just their own preference, but I would recommend just going and find that out. But like Ellie was saying, like whatever you have inside of you, you have the opportunity to get it out, and you do not need a lot of money to get that opportunity out, that investment out.
Yeah.
I truly believe, even though again I do have expensive taste, I was doing demos for people with just with stock plugins, and that's how I was paying my bills off stock plugins. But as a person, I'm like, I can put this money back into my music to where I can go and buy nicer quality stuff. And do I need every single Universal Audio plugin? No. If you want to give it to me for free, though.
Yeah, just saying.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I love it. But do I need it? No. And I think every single, artist / producer / engineer will say the same exact thing. Again, because before plugins were even available, everybody had to record analog anyways. Yeah. So before there was like ever such thing as auto-tune, before such thing as Fruity Loops and everything, people had to record all digitally. Before digitally, they had to do all analog anyway, so they had to use microphones to record everything through amps and through boards and stuff like that, and had to do external reverb, external delay.
Oh my god, chamber reverbs.
That's what I'm saying. So like, it's just all that stuff. But with that being said, I think that's a good place for us to kind of, stop on this episode. Yeah. But hopefully you guys had fun, learned a few things, but also stay in contact with us on our social media. We enjoy being in contact with you guys. We like seeing your guys' comments. We like seeing you guys interact. If you have any questions about anything, if there's something that we didn't talk about, let us know. We'll be happy to talk about it in another episode. Or let us know episodes that you want to hear. Yeah. If you want us to bring people on, if you want us to have people come in here and, just talk about, like, the music or their project, or have them, like, we have ideas of actually doing almost like a showcase, like if they release a single or if they release an EP or whatever, like play like 1 or 2 songs.
Sure. We do, yeah. We were talking about that earlier. It would be cool to have some people come on and do some performances, play a couple songs. Yeah. That'll be great. Also, tell us. We want to hear from you guys. Seriously, we want you guys to let us know. Let us know. We're just getting started with this. Yeah. This is only our 3rd episode. So, like, again, we're not teachers in, like, audio or anything like that. So a lot of the stuff.
Do not think that we're like.
Yeah, we're not like the
setting example. We're not.
We're not the.
These are our opinions.
Yeah, these are our opinions. We're not like the end all be all when it comes to like knowledge about all these things. We're still learning stuff as we go too. Tell us in the comments if you're like an audio engineer and like we like made any mistakes or anything like that. Tell us about that, or if we could have elaborated a little bit better on some stuff. Let us know about that. And we're trying to get better when it comes to everything, including not only including the pod, but like including the stuff that we're doing in our musical lives as well. So let us know. We want to hear from you guys and any tips you might have for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're over here giving tips, but that's because we're the only ones here right now. We want to hear like all the tips. If you have some things you might want to talk about, let us know. Reach out. We'd be cool. It would be cool to like to phone someone in for a call for one of these and get somebody's perspective if you want to be a guest on the pod. So we're just here. We're here having fun with it, man.
Yeah.
This has been a blast. You know what I'm saying? We're having a ton of fun. So we're just hanging out. So we're really, again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it this far, we love you, man. We're here for you guys, and we're gonna keep on going. We're gonna keep on letting this thing move.
That's right. But again, until next time, we love you. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Wow. 3 episodes, 1 day.
Wow. Dang.